Welcome back to another episode of Report Miscellaneous Talks. I am your host, Glassfield Crossfield, and today we have a very special guest with us. Please introduce yourself.
Hey guys, happy to be here. My name is Kyle Reedstrom. I am out of Fargo, North Dakota, so good old Midwest, upper Midwest. And I've been in the real estate game since 2015. I've been doing, I actually came out of engineering into real estate, have my license. I'm a broker, but I also really focus on investing and a huge focus on cash flow. And our big vision is 25,000 a month in passive income. That's kind of what we based our entire umbrella company around. We call ourselves Passive 25K Group because of that vision. And our entire mission is to build wealth through passive income through ourselves and others, and to cross the finish line of $25,000 a month from our family of companies is what we're working on. So that's our thing, man.
There was a show called Fargo. Was that based on your city?
I get that a lot, man. They did base it on my city, but all of the people in that show were they had like Minnesota style accents. I might have an accent, I don't know, but they were all from like Minnesota and all that kind of hit country in middle Minnesota, and they made us look bad, man. But we kind of got famous for it, so people can recognize Fargo. So
Got you. What was the one of the driving reasons that got you into finance in the first place?
yeah, so my story might be similar to others out there. I was very frustrated as an engineer, or very frustrated in my career out of college, and I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, which boom, dropped the mic, changed my thinking. And I knew, and I'll use an example. At the time, I was making, I had my engineering degree. I was feeling good about myself. I had my first job, and I was getting paid 50 grand a year. And I said to myself, I had one property at the time. I actually bought a house in early 2010, 10, 11, and it was a college house that I lived in and rented to my roomies. And at that time, that house was making me about $400 a month cash flow. After all my expenses, 400 would come in.
Fantastic.
Nothing crazy sexy, but it was like after 6 months, after 12 months, it built up. And I'm like, wait, I got an extra 5 grand sitting in my account. Wait, I got an extra 9 grand sitting in my account. Because it's just plug and chug, good old real estate, time on my side. But I was an engineer thinking I wanted to do that. And then I realized, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and they're all like, buy assets, make money, work for you. And I have this property that I still own today, by the way. And I was like, wait, that thing makes me about 5 grand a year in cash flow. If I had 10 of those, that would be the same amount of money I make doing this crappy engineering job that I don't like. Let's just do that. And so I just decided, I started to sketch out that vision, and I started getting very, very interested in reading and getting into that, kind of finding that flame of passion for buying assets and cash flow. And I realized, hey, and that led me down the path of meeting other people that were on that journey. And finally I had to tell my boss, hey, I got my real estate license. I'm out. I got to chase this dream of living off my cash flow and getting my time freedom back. And so that's what I'm doing. So.
Got you. I always say that when it comes to reading, people oftentimes ask me, why do I read? And I say, I used to hate reading. Then I found out rich people read. So I started doing it, man. So were the things you were taught in finance, were these things taught in your household? Were you taught good financial moves growing up, or was it all you that you had to learn it?
No, brother. I literally, and I think schools should teach this stuff. I'm sure you guys agree, but that you don't learn this in the classroom. And I had to figure out what I was interested in. I had to figure out what was I curious about when I was in my free time. And I started to learn, hey, if I can create a recipe for this around vision, around purchasing properties, how do you analyze these things? I can learn these skills, And so then I didn't know a lot of this, how to do this stuff. So the one thing that I did have on my side was I really liked people, and I'm kind of an extrovert that way. And so I was able to really start tugging on the sleeves of others, dude, I would read a book and I would reach out to the author, and and that seems like people would be like, people kind of are like, what? It's like, it shouldn't be a surprise. People write books. Like I've written one book. It's like, dude, I love it when people reach out to me and say, hey, I like this part of this book, and I always respond. And from my experience, a lot of authors and people that are on podcasts and things you hear, that they're excited to talk to you about what they are passionate about. So that was the way I would answer your question. Is I started trying to ask people way above my pay grade for coffee, and they said yes. I started asking people if I could pay for their time, and I always say this quote, man. You don't wait until you're rich to get a coach. You get a coach so you become rich, you know? And that's what I was saying, hey, I can't really afford this right now, but how do I get more of your time? Because I know you could unlock my next level of learning, you know? So it was very much people-based for the knowledge, and just seeing people do things and then duplicating a lot.
It's funny that you're a people person because Chittadu, his brand is relationship rich. So he prioritizes himself on networking and reaching out to people. So small world.
Yeah, man, I love it. That's great. I mean, I think, dude, we're a world full of people. As much as I want to try to do things by myself and learn things by myself, it's always pales in comparison to experiences I've had with other people or partnerships.
Working by yourself is overrated.
Truth that, man.
Overrated.
No one's self-made.
I heard
What'd you say?
Perspective. I used to hear a few things. You can hear me?
Yeah.
The thing that I agree with you on the people thing. The thing that put that in perspective and for me was I used to hear a few things. They said always put people over profit. No good things happen through people. They said you live in a world full of people, you might as well like people. So I'm like, man, I used to be at work saying I hate people, and people would, get me aggravated. And once I heard that, it was like, wow, people are actually really cool. I actually need people. So yeah, I changed my whole thing to relationship rich because I realized, you need people before anything else. So yeah, I definitely agree. People's where it's at.
Let me ask you this: when you stop saying that you hate people, didn't people all of a sudden start treating you nicer?
Yo, it really, literally, and I just feel like it was just like an overnight switch. Like as soon as I started looking at people different, it just, people just started wanting to help me more. So it was a great transition.
Dude,
hey, Kyle, I have a question for you, man.
Dude, on that point, real quick, I want to say one of my favorite quotes, I'm a big quote guy, to save as many as I can, is you're one relationship from changing your life completely. And you never know what relationship that's going to be.
I definitely heard that one. You said into passive income. What passive income strategies do you do? Like, do you just do buy and hold? Do you do like notes, lease options, Airbnb?
Is he frozen for you too?
Yeah, he broke up just a little bit. I think I got most of it though.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, as far as passive income streams go, so like we have a podcast called the Passive 25K Podcast. So I love podcasting. I love what you guys are doing. I think it's an amazing way to dig deep into conversation. So the whole point of our Passive 25K Podcast is to talk about all the different versions of active revenue streams, semi-active revenue streams, completely passive revenue streams, anything for anybody to build their passive income recipe. And to answer your question, man, we started down the real estate world. And so we dove deep into that. We actually have a lease option company. We have long-term rentals, buy and hold. We have mid-term rentals for traveling contract nurses and employees. We have short-term rentals that rent by the night. We kind of put those in 3 different buckets. And then we got into the business world. We have a brokerage that I have agents at that we're that's most active right now, but we're planning for that to get more and more passive, hiring an operating manager. We have a property management company that's completely passive for me, but it manages all of our properties. So it's kind of a vertical integration. But that's a passive income stream, and that's a growing business. So we played in the business world. We have a ton of people in our world. We have a community called Passive Income University. It's all people that are trying to do this same stuff. So I wanted that community of like minds. So I couldn't find it, so I just built it. And it's nothing special, but it's just power of people, member-led community. And there's people doing vending machines, $1,500 a month in vending machines. There's people doing e-commerce on there. There's people doing a lot of people using Turo right now. Renting out RVs, outdoorsy, renting out different spaces like that. So like, man, the sky's the limit. And I love hearing more people being creative around how to create their version, which I always say my task was with $25,000 a month. That's a big mountain to climb, but how do you eat an elephant, right? One bite at a time. So we broke that down and we said, we just need to find 5 streams of $5,000 a month in passive income, and before that, we need to find 3 streams that can do 500 a month, and build it up from there. And then we just had to, after that, you just have to scale and walk it out, so we were able to see, we got one stream, we got some long-term rentals. We got the brokerage, we're making money there. How could we make that into a passive income business eventually someday? We started down this path. I think people that do index funds is amazing. Like I love, like there's a dollar amount that if you make and save it, your dividends can just pay you. It's the most passive version of income you could ever make. And I know people that have $2.5 million from working a job for 30 years and it's their retirement, and they put it into a high yield dividend account and they live off of, $15,000 a month in just dividend income. It's just like, wow, that's, if you do it the right way, it's amazing. That's possible. Or they have a business that they sell and then they just live that way. And the key here is the financial freedom equation. I'm an engineer, I'm a math guy by trade. So it's like, there's an equation for time freedom, and it means expenses have to be less than or equal to your passive income. You can do that by 2 ways, increasing your passive income or decreasing your expenses, or both. And so I really encourage people too, like early in the game, keep your lifestyle low for a while. Like, yes, you can get to the place where you can buy a helicopter someday. That sounds awesome. But solve the equation first and then keep it that way. Increase your passive income and then your expenses, right?
Sorry. That is beautiful, definitely. And those are a lot of the sentiments in Rich Dad Poor Dad, where he tells you live below your means, and increase the passive income. And before you increase your means, make sure the passive income comes along with it. So definitely.
Dude, I love that concept matter. And to touch on that, Glassford, it was this exact thing happened to my wife and I. We were starting our family and we wanted a family vehicle, right? We wanted a Yukon. Yukon XL to be exact, and those things ain't cheap. But that was on our list, man. So like, and I'm not a big fan of like, let's go buy some crappy vehicle. Like I want the nice things in life too. So what we did instead of going and saving up and buying a Yukon was we saved up and bought an asset that pays the payment for the Yukon. That's the whole Rich Dad Poor Dad concept. And it took us 2 assets to buy it. But once we were able to save up, buy those assets, and that cash flow now pays for that Yukon, it's like, well, shoot. I mean, this is totally scalable. It's just how you think. It's the perspective you have.
Definitely.
Interesting.
What would you say is the biggest financial mistake that the average American makes when it comes to finances?
I don't know if it's a leading question because I think there is a right answer, and I think it's paying for college. Student loans, man. Because none of us, like, dude, I got my engineering degree, and I know that it was a major season of growth in my life that I don't regret. But I actually was able to pay for my college while I went to college. But I work in the real estate world. I work with a lot of clients, and I see people trying to buy a house, right? I'm helping them. My team's helping them. And thus, we see their financial situation. We see what they can qualify for. And then we see this big mountain of debt that's created from a career that they paid $800,000 for. They paid for this education that only pays them $40,000 a year in income, and that's just bad investing. That's just not a good cash on cash return, like. And so I just think that investing principle of think of your education as an investment, analyze it as an investment. If I spend this, it will make me this, and have filters around that, but nobody's talking to 18-year-olds about that, because there's an experience component with college and education too that I think it's a major benefit. I think there's huge connections that are made, lifelong friendships, people that will be in your life forever, that could be huge ROI, social capital. But from a money standpoint, man, that stuff can break you. It can break your whole future. It can break you down to the point where you give up. And I've seen that. And so to me, to answer your question, man, I just feel like there should be more thought from parents and people going into college. But I think that revolution's happening right in front of our eyes, man. College is not the hot topic, like everybody should go to college, it's amazing, Victor, to go to college anymore. It's more like it's cooler to be able to make money smarter, not harder nowadays,
Now, you mentioned that we can't depend on the educational system to educate the youth about financial literacy. So what are some of the ways that you plan on implementing your financial literacy habits on your children?
Yeah, dude, that's a cool question. To answer it, what's coming up for me, man, and I think this is a great question. I hope people sit with that question, because that's amazing. I really want to teach my kids not to trade their time for money. And that you do that with your kids by not saying, hey, I'll give you $2 an hour to clean the dishes this week. That's teaching you that if I spend my time cleaning dishes, I make money. And that's employee mentality. What I want you to know is if you achieve value, if you provide me with value, I compensate you based on the value you provide, because that's what we do in the marketplace. And I get paid from my tenants by providing the value of housing, which housing is one of the three main things you need in life is shelter. Like you need food and you need water and you need shelter, man. And so like that value, figuring out how can I do that with my kids? How can I teach them these things? I'd also really like to create in my kids a zest and a abundant mindset towards reading, because like Latford, you mentioned it, like, dude, I didn't read any books until I was like 23 years old. And I finally was so frustrated that I had to open up the pages of a book to find answers for my future, But I think people that are able to get their nose and start learning from books early, they can unlock superpowers really early in their life.
Definitely. And I mentioned to my friend Chinadu over here about making an entrepreneurial children's book. So
Dude.
maybe there's some relationship rich going on right here.
Yeah, man, that's amazing, dude. I think that's so good. Like getting it relatable. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I know we've mentioned that, but the genius of that book was how relatable it was and how simple it was.
Yes.
He took complex topics and made them simple so it could have ahas here. And doing that for kids, come on, like that's how our world can change, man.
Definitely. What would you say is the biggest lesson that you've learned about finances throughout your career? Or most important lesson, I should say.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I think there's a lot of people that are very ignorant to how they spend money, because the marketplace has made it easy. And you see this with subscription models, subscription-based, like I take out of your checking account each month without you feeling it. I give you a credit card to just swipe. I give you a phone now, because you have your phone more than your credit card, your wallet even. You can pay for things on your phone. And you forget what it feels like to spend money. And what that means, what that desensitizes you to is you forget how much money you've spent in the course of a month. And budgeting is a scary term. Like people don't love it. Like it's kind of like, oh, boring ass budgeting. But budgeting to me and my wife has become the freedom to spend, because each month we have
Mm.
buckets. We have buckets of money. We put money into the buckets, and I have $1,000 in Kyle's Choice bucket. So each month I get to spend $1,000 on whatever the heck I want. You know, it could be hot dogs and baseball tickets, you know? And so for me, that's amazing because I've pre-allocated how much I'm going to spend on that thing. You know, if I'm a big hunting enthusiast, I could spend $1,000 on hunting gear, but not more because the bucket's drained then. But if I just let myself get attracted to advertising on social media and buy into subscriptions, I could be spending $1,500-$1,800 on hunting stuff and not even know it because I'm just desensitized to it. So I feel like that's a huge lesson that I learned was how friendly budgeting can be, how it can give me freedom to spend happily. Also, you know, like having a relationship with money. There's an amazing book I recently read called Happy Money by Ken Honda. It talks about how there's happy money out there, and there's really angry, sad money out there. And money is energy. He talks about how when you're in New York City, you feel this buzz. You feel there's this attraction to these big cities, and it's because commerce is happening. People are exchanging dollars for goods and services. Things are happening like crazy, and it's because money holds energy. Whereas if you're in the country on a farm, there's no commerce happening. It's slow, it's peaceful. And the whole concept of happy money is when you're spending money, how can you spend it joyfully? Well, one of the answers to that is you can have it pre-allocated. One of my favorite things that I truly believe is the biggest ROI you can get is giving back. It's giving money. It's taking the money that comes to you and allocating a percentage of that goes away from you, and you give it away. For me, that number's 10%. And I put that money, whether I have a $2,000 month or an $80,000 month, that money goes away from me immediately. And then I look at that account, my giving account, and it's not mine. It's not my money. I get to give this joyfully and freely, and it's the best feeling in the world. It's the best experience. And I truly believe I give that money away happily, instead of the idea, and we've all done it, where you go on a vacation and you swipe your credit card too many times, and then you spent $5,500 on a vacation, and you're like sick to your stomach for the next month, and you hate that you did that, and you're not even joyful about the experience you just had. Or you buy a computer or a pair of shoes, and you have buyer's remorse, and you're frustrated because you weren't supposed to do that. If you can pre-plan some of these things, you can start to do it with joy, and I really think that has a compound effect.
Good. Do you happen to be you had a question, Chin?
Yeah, I was gonna ask you said something with your wife. Like, what was it like getting her on this journey as well? Or was she already on that journey with you?
Dude, that's a really great question, man, because I feel like that's a common thing. And so I would recommend this. I would say every time I read a good book, I said, hey, you should really read this. This will help you. No, that doesn't work, by the way. My wife hates it when I do that. No, I just set books on her nightstand and hint and prod at them. No, I don't do that either. So those are what not to do, Chin. But I'll tell you, it had to be real for her too. She had to have her moment. She had to see it before she believed it, technically. Because when we started dating, man, she saw me living in a fourplex, house hacking a fourplex, and she's like, why do you live here? Why don't you get your own house? And I had to explain it like, the other 3 units of this pay my rent and then some. I live for free. The value of this is going up, and I'm going to own this for a long time. And when I'm 50, this is what it's going to look like. And she saw some of it happen. So one of my biggest encouragements is sometimes leaders have to go first, and you have to push through the trees and clear a path for people to come behind you. And that's how it was. And once she saw it, she had her moments. She picked up her own books that she was curious about that were in these categories. I had to let her have her own curiosity and self-discover. But I also had to do my thing and cast vision and continue to take action that she had to see and start to believe. Hope that helps answer it a little bit. maybe more on the what not to do.
Definitely helps. I appreciate that, man.
Lead by example. It sounds like a lot of it. Lead by example and incorporate her on the journey as best you can. Like inform her. That's how.
Well, and
And
I want to say this too, man, because I think a lot of couples and partners, for this matter, have 50-50 mindset, and I think it's bullshit. Nobody can make a 50-50 decision because they're two individuals. If there's two leaders, there's no leaders. Okay. And so what we encourage, and I encourage in a lot of businesses, is 51-49 relationship. So the 51% person is the owner. They're the majority. They can make decisions, they can take action, and they get the final say. But that doesn't mean that they can't consult the 49% owner of the decision. You still have, they're your partner. They're a huge partner. They're only 1% less than you, but their opinion matters and their mindset matters. But ultimately, you as the 51 have the decision. So my wife and I do that a lot with bigger decisions or different things in life. We say, who's the 51 and who's the 49 on this? And if I'm the 49, I can give my ideas, I can give insight, I can give feedback, but I also have to respect that she's going to be the one making the decision and give her the decision-making power. And so for real estate and that, she knew how passionate I was and how much experience I was gaining. I had to be the 51, but didn't mean that I didn't consult her or do things without her input or asking her questions. But I know that I'm the decision maker,
what were some examples of you being the 49?
Oh, dudes, most of my rest of my life other than business. No, I mean, for example, she was moving back to town. We had a remote relationship for a while. She moved to Fargo, and I wanted her to buy a house hack, rental property, whatever. I thought it was a great idea. It was an opportunity, but she had to be the one to make that decision. Did she want to buy a house? Did she want to rent? And so she was 51. We do this on a lot of our like travel planning. If we're going to a conference, hey, you know what? I want you to be the decision maker with our schedule. You're the 51% on this, but I'm going to take the back seat on this. With our kids, we use it a ton, man. With our marriage, we use it a ton. Hey, we're planning our anniversary. Who's the 51% on this? Who's the 49? So with money's huge, right? Like with our house, who's the 51% on making decisions on expenses for our house and what the budget number is? Who's the 49? And a lot of those things I take the 49% on. She's the leader in our house in a lot of ways. And so I'm able to step back and say, hey, I don't think we need new carpet on the main floor. And I think we could survive on cleaning it. But she's the 51. She gets to say, yes, we're spending $3,500 on new carpet, or not.
Life is easier that way, huh?
Yeah, I mean, and then that's real. Like, there's never two CEOs of a company, there has to be decisiveness. I think a lot of couples get stuck in 50-50 mentality, and then nothing happens. There's stagnation constantly, and there's no momentum. There's no progress happening. It's very slow because it's always jockeying and fighting happens, and little things turn into big things. It's like, no, it comes down to one person having the ownership,
What would you say is the best way for someone to start generating cash flow?
Dude, I love this question because we get it a lot. And a lot of people that are at the start don't have money to make money.
Right.
I'm gonna shoot you straight with a practical answer. I think the world of Turo is an amazing thing that I'm seeing right now. Renting out your vehicle and buying a vehicle is very easy too. For example, we have some students in Passive Income University right now that just bought their first Turo car in Phoenix, Arizona. They just cash flowed $850 last month, and they bought an $11,000 car, and their payment is like $185 a month. That's pretty freaking good ROI, and it was very accessible for them. And yes, they bought a liability. A vehicle is going to go down in value, but they can stack up cash like crazy. I think every person that doesn't own a property currently should do a house hack. They should buy a property with a low down payment that they can live in. And if they could do a duplex or even the property itself, they can live in for a year or 2 years, keep that property rented out, and then get another property and do that every 1 year or 2 years, and do that for 5, 6, 7 years, and you're left with a trail of rental properties. We have programs in North Dakota, and I know it's state specific, where you can get into a property for 0% down, you know?
Wow.
And so if you can do that, if you qualify for that, I know there's income requirements. If you make too much money, you can't do that. But like early in your career, that's a no-brainer. And then the thing is, don't sell it, keep it. Keep that asset, rent it out. Buy a property in a high rental area, live in it for a year or two, then go get your next house at 3% or 5% down. Keep that property that you have on those terms. It's an amazing way to build wealth.
Oh my goodness.
There's one other one that I really loved. I guess the other one, like in the real estate sense, and obviously I'm heavy into real estate, is there's a lot of people that have a place to live, like, well, and this goes down the route of Airbnb arbitrage. That was a crazy concept that I learned only about a year ago. Holy smokes. Are you guys familiar with Airbnb arbitrage or not really?
Yeah, I do it.
Okay, yeah. So like, how amazing is that? You have a place that you live currently. If you can furnish it and you're gone, or you have buddies or a girlfriend or something, and you put it out there for someone to use your space and pay you for it, no brainer. You're already paying for it, you know. And I know people that have nice house. I know single guys that have a nice furnished house, and they're just like, hey, I'll put this on Airbnb. And they rents for 2 weeks, and they go figure out ways to live for 2 weeks, and they make a ton of extra money, and then they can pour that money into not increases in lifestyle, but assets, you know?
That is phenomenal. God bless you, man.
But yeah, the thing there, Glassford, is think of, and I really want this to be a concept that hopefully your listeners really grasp, because there's a lot of ways people put barriers in their way, like I can't do this, I can't do that. Think of what you already have and how it can make you money. Here's another example. My wife found a company online called Baby Quip. Baby Quip is like the Airbnb for baby toys and car seats and pack and plays and strollers. So she started a Baby Quip business. And now people, when they travel, which we've used Baby Quip, when we travel, we don't want to haul all of our stuff. We don't want to haul all our stuff to Florida. So when we go to Florida, we get a Baby Quip rental for $350, and they give us bottles, strollers, toys, books, and it's all there. And now I don't have to pack another suitcase, and I'm happy to pay $350. And somebody already has that shit. They're just renting it to me for a little bit.
That is
so think of the things that you already have in your life: your car, your place you live, your baby toys, for example, and think of how you can show value to others. And there's so many great ways, I mean, that I'm not even thinking of. People that do this with their ice house in North Dakota, they rent out their ice houses or their RVs or their camping equipment. There's stuff for that, you know?
that's such a great idea, because when you travel, man, that extra suitcase is a hassle getting it through the airport. You got to pay that check-in fee. So I never thought about that, how much extra weight that can add to you when you travel with your child. So that is a great idea. Wow.
Yeah, dude. And it's just, there's probably more out there. I mean, remember, Airbnb started by renting out an extra couch in your house, you know, for like couch surfing. But you know, it's amazing. And people just got to take down that barrier and say, dude, there's so many ways I can make cash flow. And then when you have money, you can start to save that up and buy, you know, let that money make you more money. And we all, you know, that's when it starts to compound.
So I'm sure that you've met a lot of people that are financially free or well on their way to being that. What has been the number one trait that these people share?
I would say all of them have coaches. Like the highest level guys have a higher level guy that they're coaching from. And so I would say if you're trying to figure this out on your own and you don't have someone that you're talking to weekly as a coach, that's an awesome investment. That's an amazing investment. Think of it as investing in yourself first, and it will pay you huge dividends. And I would really say, like, find a coach that's doing what you want to do, and then just like pay them for their time. And because they'll say yes to it. A lot of people want to give that back. I've had people ask me for coaching. I ask my coaches, and I don't look for people that coach. I look for people that are doing things, and I ask them if they'll coach me. You know, they're not like a coach by trade. You know what I mean? And so a lot of them have coaches. A lot of them are readers. I know we talked a lot about that, but like literally they read constantly. I've seen a lot of these guys that I'm thinking of right now that are in mastermind groups. So it's almost like the social capital is high, that it's group shared knowledge where they go and they discuss, hey, how do I get into commercial real estate investing? I'm in a commercial investing mastermind, you know, and I'm getting to learn from 15, 20 other people that are doing commercial investing. Like that's more valuable than you could ever hope for. And a lot of that can happen virtually now. And so all these fall into one category, man. Like you're continuing to learn. Which, you know, I think we all agree, like podcasting and like listening to people on podcasts and things is and reading books is like really important, but it's only the first step, because I think the next step is actually like working one-on-one with something and doing things. I always say the quote, education without implementation is just entertainment. And so anybody listening to this podcast right now, they're either going to be entertained by our jokes and our conversation, or they're actually going to take something we said and implement it. And that's the power.
Definitely writing that down. Chin, you had a question?
I was going to ask, right? I forgot what you said that made me think about this question, but what kind of forms of marketing do you and your company do to generate leads?
So this will be a little bit of a polarizing answer, but we don't pay for any leads. And there's one reason why. I think that's the easy button. And so we go solely off relationship, solely based on just building deep relationship with people, which maybe, Chin, you like that because the relationship bridge, right? But like we've found that you can go and look for 100 leads, or you can have 5 amazing clients, raving fans for your business that give you 20 leads per person. You know, because of referrals and compounding and going deeper. And it's just easier business that way. It's not on the transaction treadmill when you're going deep with people. And I'm in businesses where there's a lot of referrals and there's a lot of people that are passing your value along and saying, hey, check out Kyle, talk with Kyle about this. And then I'm listening to those people and saying, hey, what are other ways you're looking for value? What are the problems? If people haven't studied some of Alex Hormozy's stuff he wrote that book.
I send him all that stuff all the time. Alex Hormozy, I send him all his YouTube shorts.
Yeah, dude, Hormozy is all about learning the problems that your audience has, all of the problems they bring up to you. Like for me in real estate agency, it's hard to get pre-approved. I don't have enough money. You know, like if you can start to solve and put like brainstorm around all the ways to solve the problem of not having enough money to invest in real estate, holy smokes, there's hundreds of solutions to that. You know, and then I start to provide those to my people, and then they work with me, you know, like I'm just solving problems. And so to answer your question, man, I don't have this marketing tactic. You know, I will say this, Chin, like I think social media is a free way for you to express who you are, if you do it authentically and not in a salesy way, for people to create trust with you from afar and a larger audience. And so you'll see me on social media, and I constantly just think, how can I add value to other people when I go on social media? Or how can I show people what I'm interested in? And I always say there's kind of like the 20% rule. Like 20% should be about you and what you're interested in, because people care about that. They want to know what you're interested in. 20% should be about your family and like the people you care about. 20% should be about other people Like, shine light on other people. Highlight a business in your community. Highlight somebody that did something awesome or gave you a gift. 20% should be something funny, fun, adventurous, make people laugh, be light. And then the last 20% can be about business. You know, so 1 out of every 5 posts should be about like, hey, I have a opportunity, or here's what I do for business. You know, not, I see a lot of people that just go straight business, all business, you know, and that's not you. You're not, your identity isn't your business. It's you, you know.
I like that. I like that a whole lot. That's a very good stuff right there with the 2020 rule. Definitely gonna implement that. So, what would you say you want your legacy to be? What do you want to be remembered for?
Yeah, dude. So I believe this. The reason now we want to get to 25,000 a month in passive income is because we've determined that's a number where we would have well solved the financial freedom equation. Because I believe that once you get time freedom, once you have your time back, because the bills just keep getting paid automatically, right? You can start to get margin in your life, to stop looking at everything as a price and how much things cost, and start making decisions not on money but on merit. Start making decisions based on what's best for the situation or best for that person. You can start showing up early to things and staying late for things. I truly believe when you have time freedom, when you're not focused on just trying to get through another month or another quarter, you can start to look at the world that's bigger than just yours, bigger than your community, bigger than your country even. And you can start to solve problems that are really fascinating to you because you have time, you have peace. And so I want people to remember me as someone that did the work and executed in order to achieve time freedom, and then use my time freedom to really bless people and pour abundance into other people a ton. You know, like I think of people that I know that have time freedom, they have amazing relationships because they spend time in them. They have amazing relationships with their kids. They have amazing marriages. They have amazing friends because they have time to gift things to them and give them extra, you know, be at their events and spend time with them traveling, do things together, just show up unannounced, you know. So many of us are like busy on our vision. It's all about us. Like we have to stay in it. Like we forget that everything that matters is like, how do you make people feel, you know? And so like part of me thinks, you know, you can't just skip that, but there's a certain amount of sacrifice that it takes to get to that time freedom place. And once you're there, you can really just start to let your cup overflow and pour into others.
That's beautiful right there. I want to be financially free for my time. That's a beautiful lesson right there. My final question, if you could have dinner with 5 people, dead or alive, who would they be?
Ooh. Okay. I actually have a grandpa that was a big businessman that I never got to meet, but we always hear stories about him. His name was Floyd. I think he'd be at that dinner table. He was a small town business guy, and he died when my mom was 20, so left her early. But she always says I remind her of Floyd, so Floyd would be on that. I think I'd bring my mom to that dinner table too because she'd want to hang out with her dad, right? And my mom's been very influential in my life. I think I would, you know, I think back in the depths of history, like right, this list is open-ended, but I think of some of the famous entrepreneurs of like the early days. Think of like Henry Ford, you know what I mean? Like bringing someone like that in that was like revolutionizing some of the things of his time, right? Like let's put Henry on the table there. And then there's a guy that's a pastor, he's a spiritual leader. His name's Craig Groeschel. He's an awesome dude. He's jacked. And he's just a great dude. So Craig Groeschel is sitting at the table. So what? I got Floyd, my mom, Henry Ford, and Craig Groeschel. This is a great question, Glasford. I love this. And I'm thinking, like, who could be at that table that would benefit as well? Not just benefit me, but would also benefit. So I'd probably bring one of the younger guys on my team. Probably a guy named Jory. I'd bring Jory, and I'd say, hey, this is gonna be a crazy table we're gonna sit at, but this will be good, man. This will make an impact. So
that's beautiful. Yeah, Chin, you have any more questions?
No questions. Just something you made me think about, because and it's back to that leads question. So I'm in the process of trying to figure out, what's the best way for me to generate leads. And I do love relationships. So when you said that, I'm thinking about, damn, okay, how can I do that? Like, how can I use my relationships and like spread the word and just get referrals and convert that into buying property, So I do like that idea. And I feel like it'll be easier for me to do that than paying for a list and having people call it or sending letters, because I just love speaking to people now. So I really love that you said that, and I had wrote it down because that's something I do want to think about. So I appreciate you for sharing that thought.
Dude, I wanna speak to you on that a little bit, because this is something that I'm not a marketing expert, but I've realized this, and it's a lot of Hermosi stuff. He has a big funnel. And what a funnel does is you first have to have somebody's eyeballs. You have to get eyeballs in some way. They have to know who you are, what your name is. And you can do that in a mass sense on YouTube, social media, whatever, or however you're going to put yourself. You can do that by going out in your community and being at events and you introduce somebody, right? But his funnel goes like this. You get an audience, and an audience feeds on your content. And content should turn into conversation, and conversation needs to turn into an appointment, whether it's a Zoom appointment or a face-to-face interaction, so we can actually relate. We can actually be in relationship. So everything you're doing has to funnel down into, I need to eventually talk to you and buy into you and invest in you because I like you now, like I need to meet you. And that's when you can go deep. And once you're going deep in a relationship, I always say level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. I don't get to do business with people when I'm at level 1, rarely. It's when I get to level 2, level 3 with people where they're like, wow, I really love that you do this, or I provide value to people to get to that next level. Like I give them I listen to them, and I'm able to solve a problem for them. That takes me to level 2. Once I'm at level 3 and level 4 with a lot of relationships, we start doing business together like crazy, man. I help them, they help me. But you see how that all had to come way down from the top, and it seems like a mountain. It seems like holy smokes. But it's the best work. It's the most momentum work that you could ever do, is to start saying, hey. And so one of the things I encourage my team to do when like one of my guys is big on TikTok, I said, how are you getting into conversation with people that are commenting and viewing your TikTok? Because otherwise you're just putting out crap for people to watch. You need to get into conversation and ask questions to the people that are engaging with your content, and get into conversation, and not just once, month after month. Ask them a new question. Hey, I'm thinking about this idea. I wanted to get your feedback on this. I really appreciate your perspective. How do you feel about this question? Now we're talking and I'm valuing their opinion. Now we could get to the place where, hey, would you ever mind jumping on a Zoom call? Like, let's meet. I'd really like to, and now we're creating a relationship from afar, and I'm following their stuff and maybe even buying their products. And now they're starting to reciprocate. And all of a sudden we're doing business together, and it all started from just DMing each other on Instagram or something, just like this, we're on this podcast, it's because we were starting, and I could see, what if we continued to have conversation beyond this podcast? We'd slowly form a relationship with each other. And all of a sudden, a year from now, we look back and be like, holy smokes, this all started because Glassford reached out and said he liked one of liked one of our videos, and it's awesome. It's like, dude, but you have to go deep. And we always say, you got to put a lot of deposits in the relationship bank before you can take withdrawal. I think a lot of people try to just withdraw right away, and there's no balance in that account,
Definitely.
Oh,
Prince, you have any questions?
no.
All right. Well, I thank you, Kyle, so much for coming on, man. This really does mean the world to me. We definitely got a lot of value out of this. Your heart's desire remains in the description. Please go listen to Kyle and his podcast, and go follow him on social media. It's if you think this was good, please follow the man.